Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about the strategy for Russia here in Axis and Allies. So first off, when you are playing as the Allies, one of the most important things to do before we get into the details is to talk to your partners, see what the U.S. is doing. So the Allies, there's three of you, and ultimately one of the most effective ways to win as the Allies is to work together well in important areas. So playing off each other is important. If you all do your own thing, you probably lose. Biggest considerations are, is America going to heavily come into Europe and help you, or are they going to be over here pushing towards Japan? That will dramatically change what you need to do in those cases. Because if America is going to build a complex in Western China, or if Britain will as well in India, then you're going to definitely have to send some men over here. Otherwise, you're fighting the Germans until the Japanese get on your doorstep. So I have 7 key objectives for you guys. Number 1, don't die. That may sound simple, but it's not. Russia, you have the least amount of money, and you are sandwiched between two very powerful enemies. Japan and Germany can both effectively hit you from both sides. Germany is a little bit closer than Japan, but you are far from your friends and close to enemies. Most games, the Axis will focus heavily on you, meaning if you don't die, the Allies probably win. But if you do die, then the Allies probably lose. So goal number 1 has to be simply don't die. All right, goal number 2. You need to find a way to start to whittle down the German front. So Germany starts with a ton of tanks, a ton of planes, some artillery, some men, and they're going to send a lot towards you. And straight up, you can't match what they have. But what's going to happen is at some point the British are going to start landing here on the coast. They're going to come over here, maybe up here, maybe they can reinforce for you up here. The Americans will come possibly do the same depending on the Allied strategy. But your goal early is, note that you can't really push into Germany. They will slaughter you. But you can just try to whittle down men. You want to be working here between Ukraine, Western Russia, holding some of your territories. These are the places where you're going to kind of fight those edge battles. So get those. So really what you want to look for is, when does Germany attack and leave a territory poorly guarded? Meaning especially if they have a couple tanks there but not a lot of men. Maybe there's a plane or two, but only a man or two. It's great to get those killed, take those territories, get the money, but also whittle down the German front. But you got to be strategic. Russia, you can't attack everywhere. You pick 1 or 2 places a turn, you hit them, and then you move on. And usually, we're not moving real far towards Germany. If you do that, that's going to be a disaster. So goal number 3, try to never lose your tanks or planes. These are expensive attack pieces. They are vital to the long-term interest of your game. And as Russia, you just don't have money to build endless tanks, endless planes. So you really need to protect those. You only start with 4 tanks. It's nice to get more. It's nice to get that fleet built up, and so you really need to guard those. When you are coming in here to attack territories, you either need to send a lot of forces so Germany can't overwhelm you, or send men and then have the planes attack because the planes get to fly home. Maybe an artillery kind of in between. It's good to save them, but it's okay to occasionally lose one. But you really want to guard your tanks and planes, especially. Number 4. Later in the game, you eventually do need to start making a push on Germany. So goal number 1 is always don't die. If you don't die, you're doing a good job. But eventually, especially if the Allies are going Germany first, you got to take Ukraine. This is the linchpin for Russia right here. You want to get to Ukraine. Taking Ukraine allows you to kind of guard the north to a degree, but also push into Eastern Europe, push in the Balkans, start to threaten here the Germans. Well, hopefully at the same time, the British have landed here in Western Europe. There's Americans here between Norway, Western Europe. Hopefully the British and the Americans have taken Season 5 and they are just landing everywhere, causing lots of trouble for the Germans, taking lots of land, lots of money. And you pushing here and holding really then pinches them in and isolates the Germans to make them collapse. However, I must caution. Key objective number 5. Try not to lose that big battle. So ultimately, Axis Now is a game where inevitably, sometimes the really big battles, there's a lot of dice, there's a lot of randomness in the rolls, and that will often determine the game. But you don't want to go into those big battles being 50-50. You want to make sure when you take Ukraine, when you push forward, you have an overwhelming advantage. That even if you get some bad rolls, you don't lose your whole force and get wiped out. Because Germany, as you see, they start with $40 a turn. They can often easily get 45, 50 IPCs. Depending on what they do, they can take money from you. They often will take Africa. And you start with 24 and often stay in the 20s. Possibly get to 30, but also possibly get to the teens. With 45 IPCs a turn, Germany can lose a big battle, and in a couple turns, they can reboot. Russia, you can't. So you got to make sure that you do your best not to lose the big battle. Be a little conservative there. All right, number 6, what to do about Asia. So in Asia, early on, I mostly recommend ignoring it and abandoning it unless the Allies are going Japan first. In that case, you do want to hold here over at Yakut, which if you're going to hold is always where you want to hold. You never want guys here by the coast. There's a battleship. That's just free kills on your men. Don't give the Japanese free kills. They have all these planes. There's another battleship that can move up here for turn 2. Don't leave men here. Those are just fodder for the battleships for very cheap territories. But in most cases, your best bet is just move everybody to the west, and then move them west again, and just get them out of there, and then deal with the Japanese as they get closer. There's this territory, one buck. Losing all those, it's only $3. Those are hard to defend. They're far away. Ultimately, what you'll really want to make sure is when the Japanese get closer, Novorossiysk, $2. Kazakh, $2. These are the ones you want to take back, try to hold a little bit. Maybe Seesaw. A lot of games I see where you hold Ukraine hopefully at some point, but then Japan gets really on your neck. Then you got to move back. So this is where if you can keep several tanks, maybe you build the occasional tank, get 5, 6, 7. They can go 2 spaces, attack Kazakh. They can go back to Russia to defend. That gives you options there. Understanding too, if you guys are going Germany first, Japan's going to be a real problem. Your first goal is to really pressure Germany, but your second goal is to not die from the Japanese. They will be the ones to possibly kill you, take you out. Because if the Americans are splitting their forces, if they're going heavy here in the Pacific, Japan must contend. But if they don't, they are just going to focus on you. It's an endless men, tanks, planes, and by turn 5 or 6, you're going to have very serious forces on your back door, and you need to go back to goal number 1, not die. So lastly, key objective 7 is to have good purchasing. By that, I mean you should build mostly men. When in doubt, buy men. Occasionally, you have extra money, get the extra tank, get some artillery. It's good to get occasional of those, but ultimately you need to be building mostly men. If you are not building mostly men, you will probably lose. You need defense. You don't have a lot of money. You need the maximum defense you can get, so you need more men. Unless it's the craziest game ever, don't be building boats and bombers. That's crazy. Don't do that. Build mostly men, occasional tank, occasional artillery. And that will then give you the best chance of achieving goal number 1, don't die. If Russia doesn't die, the Allies have a great chance of winning the game.